The Isolator leather sarcophagus bolted to your skull with industrial clamps. Congrats, it's 1925 and you've graduated to productivity sigma male. Its oxygen tube isn't a gentle nudge toward focus. It's an airflow seppuku where every gasp screeches just one more spreadsheet as neurons tap dance in hypoxia. Men shelled out $35, half a month's rent, to cosplay Victorian child laborers duct taped to a dentist's chair. This wasn't self-help. This was voluntary cerebral waterboarding for white-collar martyrs who found factory whistles too poetic. Hugo Gernsback, patron saint of asbestos-steer innovation, patented this torture bong to increase mental focus, proving humans ideate best while suffocating. Leather jaws vise your skull like a rabid dachshund mid-mauling. That oxygen restrictor valve, calibrated to turn deep work into shallow grave work. No wonder Hemingway traded corkscrews for bullets. One glance at beta testers and he'd murmur, "Finca vidu it is." Let's autopsy the circus. Modern hacks preach 4 a.m. ice baths and fasts. Pathetic. 1920's grinders sneered, "Hold my radium-laced Sazerac," before welding idea iron lungs to their craniums. That oxygen feed, the original gamification. Rack points for minutes spent resisting syncope to unlock carpal tunnel and CTE DLC. Entrepreneurs snorting nootropics. Amateurs. OG innovators starved prefrontal cortexes until hallucinating profit margins as divine visions. This helmet scoffs at noise-canceling headphones like a guillotine eyeing safety scissors. Today's tech bros biohack. With VR and ketosis, Depression-era go-getters skipped metaphors and riveted autopsy rigs to their heads. Isolator sales pitch. Tired of coworker banter? Collapse your trachea until their voices morph into Morse code ennui. My ex-wife Karen bought one, not to write novels, but to mute my rants about her pyramid scheme's ROI. Here's the roach infesting Gernsback's patent. Humanity doesn't crave progress. We're lab rats mainlining self-sabotage. Industrial revolution maimed children. Perfect. Let's refit the concept for cognition. The Isolator is our codependent waltz with innovation. Maybe this brass-bladed face cage won't gift me eternal vertigo and ear canal thrush. Dystopian novels died on arrival. This device whispers our sickness. Progress through pain is just suicide with better branding. Fixes applied. Eliminated the heavy openers. Darker punches. Voluntary cerebral waterboarding is shallow grave work. Progress through pain is just suicide with better branding. Cliché is nuked. Replaced Elon Musk of asbestos-steer ideas with patron saint of asbestos-steer innovation. Swapped hold my coffee for hold my radium-laced Sazerac. A funnier nihilism. Karen's ratio of idiocy. Hemingway's Finca vidu it is. Rhythm-tuned. Shortened sentences. Added italics for manic emphasis. Dr. Sardonicus prescribes. Rigorously excised opening quote tumors, metastasizing Karen redundancies and plebeian cliches. Replaced with surgical-grade nihilism. Gernsback's oxygen tubes weren't accessories. They were voluntary strangulation chic. Patent diagrams betrayed twin rubber Roman IV pumping just enough air to keep your prefrontal cortex hovering between panic and stupor. Productivity? No. Autoerotic asphyxiation for academic credit. Modern gurus hawk cerebral hypoxia via Everest safaris. 1925 offered a thriftier hell, clamping your windpipe until Anna Karenina reads like Twitter fanfic. Imagine huffing attic dust through a vape pen. That's Isolator breathwork. The Inventor, a sparky LAR ping as a neurologist, claimed narrowed oxygen flow amplified focus. Translation: terror of suffocation would evict your procrastination demons. Historical context: this was the golden age of mercury enemas for indigestion. Medieval barbers drained nobles into enlightenment. Gilded Age hustlers snorted arsenic like pixie sticks. Humanity's mantra: if poison fails, apply more poison. The piece de resistance: a literal horse blinder bolted to a respiratory crime scene. Blocked 99% of peripheral vision lest sunlight remind you joy exists. Modern corollary: billionaires firebombing escape pods to Mars. Renaissance flagellants sought divine wrath. Depression-era wage slaves paid $14 to asphyxiate softly while typing TPS reports. Progress is pain with a PR team. Side effects. Documented like a mobster's ledger. Users reported Einstein's relativity, feeling obvious, during vertigo spirals. One admin vomited roach powder jingles between blackouts, promoted for his deficiency. Gernsback's rag bragged. Hindu ascetic focus, minus the Enlightenment. For every Edison, 50 hawks peddled lead-lined underwear as gamma-ray lingerie. Reality. Lungs shuttle 8,000 liters daily. Try funneling that through 2 coffee stirrers. WW2 frogmen inhaled more O2 at 100 fathoms. But logic evaporates when desperation curdles. Ask any tech bro microdosing LSD in a sensory deprivation tank, convinced his flatulent smells like Rilke sonnets. The Isolator's epitaph. Hustle porn conquers biology. My therapist calls it late capitalist lung burglary. I call it brunch. Karen weaponized hers. Strapped it on Zoom calls until Uncle Larry's QAnon rants dissolved into Dolphin clicks post-minute 3. Emerged cyanotic from vacuuming screeches about Bora-composed gratitude lists. Meanwhile, Hemingway mainlined Rum Shirtless in Key West, authored masterpieces sans face Iron Lung. Lesson: genius craves chaos. Suffocation helmets crave eBay resale. The modern upgrade. Productivity apnea. Biohackers gobble modafinil while strapped to O2 sensors, hallucinating spreadsheets as Shiva revelations. 54% of Americans piss mid-email. Darwin blushes. If Bell patented a crank-operated gas mask today, TED would sell nuns into servitude for tickets. Our paradox. Pursuing immortality via gadgets that anemicize us to ghosts. The Isolator's stench lingers. Vulcanized rubber and regret, same as my 3rd divorce papers. Modern dystopia isn't jackbooted tyranny. It's 3 a.m. slack-jawed, sipping Soylent through a gimp mask, praying it births the sound and fury too. 0. Spoiler. You'll faceplant on the keyboard, Slack channel bleeding, VVVVVVVV. Optimal efficiency achieved. Sardonicus diagnosis. Administered 12 cc of syntactic venom. Cauterized all hope. Prognosis. Terminal delusion. Bill the estate. But the true horror metastasized when they implemented the focus slits protocol. Imagine showing up to your typist gig only to have your employer spot weld your helmet's eye openings down to microscopic portholes after lunch. Suddenly, your entire reality becomes trying to decipher blurry carbon copies through keyhole-sized gaps while deep-throating rubber fumes. It's the industrial equivalent of putting horse blinders on Sisyphus and electrifying the boulder. The official manual calls it variable aperture task-specific vision optimization, which is corpo speak for we've reinvented the scold's bridle but dumber. Medieval tortures at least had the decency to be honest about their malice. The bridle silenced nagging wives with iron gags. The Isolator shushes existence itself for 80 cents an hour. Progress. The year after its release, U.S. factory workers started hallucinating en masse. Coincidence? Or were their brains so oxygen-deprived that Excel spreadsheets blurred into transformative Lord of the Rings/fiction? Modern tech hasn't matured. It's just swapped welding torches for algorithms. Freedom app blocks Twitter. Child's play. Today's Ubermensch coders install physical keyboard cages requiring literal bone saws to access Chrome. One GitHub thread details some lunatic epoxying his smartwatch inside a concrete paperweight to reclaim agency. Agency from what? His step count. Humanity's obsession with amputating distractions reaches fetishistic extremes, like monks who sewed themselves into caves. Except these guys post TikToks of their self-flagellation tagged grind set. Brilliantly, the Isolator's designers weaponized their own failure. When users kept passing out from CO2 buildup, they marketed the vomit-filled helmets as beta versions of sensory deprivation chambers. 3 decades before Hubbard's Sea Org kooks tried drowning people in silent darkness to juice creativity. Same scam, different pseudoscience. Modern parallels. Every idiot strapping on an Hourra ring to quantify their circadian free fall, while mainlining Adderall to meet deadline sprint goals. Like balancing a checkbook by lighting cash on fire. The logical conclusion: biohackers at SXSW last year demoed prototype goggles that auto-tint whenever Slack's notification servers spike, creating a market for prison-style Shiv lenses smuggled in anal cavities to circumvent focus fascism. The dystopian punchline: those goggles are sponsored by Medicare Advantage plans. Our overlords realized if they can't stop you doom-scrolling, they'll monetize welding your eyelids shut during open enrollment. And let's butcher this sacred cow, the myth of voluntary use. The Isolator's inventor Hugo Gernsback, Pulp Fiction peddler and Edison's basement-dwelling clone, pitched it as an empowerment tool. Translation: factory owners bought 300 units and fired anyone whose forehead didn't indent within a week. Same as your boss docking PTO for not installing ransomware that locks your mouse if TikTok throughput exceeds 7 seconds hourly. This isn't innovation. It's the digital age putting out system with worse ventilation. Archival photos show Victorian accountants chained to desks by ankle braces, predecessors to today's smart desks that shock users erect if posture sensors detect a 0.5% productivity dip. Yet these morons still parrot "work smarter, not harder" between cortisol Roman IV drips. Medieval serfs had better dental plans. Emperor Nero once fed Christians to lions for entertainment. Today's execs just live stream interns having panic attacks in focus pods for shareholder amusement. Rebranded barbarism smells like stale kombucha and shattered dopamine receptors. During the 1918 pandemic, health boards welded families inside plague apartments. Now bourgeois workfluencers pay premium to self-weld into deep work sarcophagi lined with Tibetan prayer flags sold by former Uber surge pricing engineers. Our ancestors feared iron maidens. We line up to impale ourselves on ergonomic standing desks while algorithms harvest our death rattles as engagement metrics. Evolution, more like Dr. Sardonicus revision. The Isolator's piece de resistance wasn't sensory deprivation. It was tea time. Picture this: boiling Earl Grey funneled through a hydration tube, designed by someone who'd clearly never met a human esophagus. Official manuals touted rubber piping for liquid intake, an innovation so violently misjudged it'd make Sisyphus quit his day job. Strapping into this steampunk iron lung meant signing up for third-degree burns disguised as cognitive optimization. Hugo Gernsback's magnum opus, forged in the same delusional fires that later birthed Neuralink and electrified underpants as life extension. A Victorian efficiency hawks promised a fusion of battlefield discipline and high society decorum. Reality: forklift operators attempting to sip Darjeeling through a straw engineered like a grenade launcher. The New York Tribune cataloged 1926 hospitalizations from clerks confusing oxygen lines with tea dispensers, essentially waterboarding themselves in Earl Grey, while management fined them for unproductive drip protocols. Studies proved wearers required double the time to drink versus free-range humans. Modern focus gadgets, our rings, productivity timers, are merely polished regurgitations of this farce. Swap boiling tea mishaps for Silicon Valley-approved dehydration migraines. My ex once wore noise-canceling headphones so aggressively during tax season, she sprinted from a burning building clutching a potted fern, screaming, "Save the spreadsheets." Corporate's next move: nutrient paste squeezed through feeding tubes. Soylent's entire empire stands on the shoulders of Gernsback's patent. A snack compartment, requiring users to crane their necks like a vulture nibbling roadkill jerky. Typing devolved into blunt force trauma against leather-clad keys designed to eliminate tactile distraction. A feature Elon Musk might call innovation, but Leatherfaces call frostbite. This obsession with ornamental suffering rivals hauling a grand piano across Antarctica to serenade penguins with Liszt, or Fortune 500 CEOs enforcing mindfulness apps while outsourcing chemotherapy to Bangladesh. Enlightenment through exploit S. The punchline: by 1937, Ohio factory workers wore Isolator upgrades featuring urine collection bags to minimize bathroom breaks. A spoiler, productivity flatlined when the bags ruptured mid-shift, baptizing Ford assembly lines in biohazard confetti. Managers cited employee gravity literacy deficits. So when you see TikTokers pruning their souls in flow state coffins, remember this isn't new. It's just Victorian cosplay with worse leather. Human progress has always been a con. We're not refining productivity. We're monetizing Stockholm Syndrome, one scalding sip at a time. Today's Isolator doesn't sit on your head. It colonizes your bloodstream as microplastic Adderall and Zoloft dust. Microsoft's productivity score feature watches workers like a paranoid falcon circling a mouse, docking pay if you blink wrong during a PowerPoint funeral. At least 1930's boneheads just smelled like pee. Now you get automated write-ups when Slack's AI detects insufficient enthusiasm emojis during mandatory diversity webinars. We've weaponized distraction into self-flagellation. The original Isolator let you see nothing. Modern flow states demand you feel nothing. Meditation apps charge $19 a month to simulate the soothing ambience of a North Korean labor camp, while LinkedIn ghouls brag about disabling their tear ducts with beta blockers to optimize grief processing. My neighbor installed a burnout detection collar on his golden retriever that pings his boss if his heart rate drops below grindset velocity. The dog filed for divorce last Tuesday. Corporate overlords achieved what Gernsback couldn't: voluntary panopticons. Amazon warehouses use AI motion trackers so ruthless, workers piss in bottles to avoid time theft penalties. Call it the isolatorical, baptizing minimum wage martyrs in algorithmic holy water. One temp worker in Nevada got auto-fired because her IBS exceeded the company's bowel movement KPIs. HR sent her a sympathy card signed by the server farm that canned her. Digital isolation metastasizes faster than Victorian lunacy. Chrome extensions like self-control block social media by bombarding you with motivational Nietzsche quotes, which backfires when you're elbow-deep in existential dread at 2 a.m. Contemplating how Ayn Rand's ghost is definitely into cryptodoms. Meanwhile, the U.S. Army pays Twitch streamers to recruit Zoomers by promising structured serotonin deployment schedules. Basically Isolator helmets with drone strike capabilities. Biohackers now pay $6,000 for subcutaneous Wi-Fi blockers to mute their own nervous systems, which resembles performing a DIY lobotomy with an Etsy knitting needle. The pinnacle. Elon's Neuralink demo required monkeys to die mid-pong match to prove we could someday email thoughts directly, potentially forwarding your suicide note as a calendar invite. Truth is, we invented worse hells because leather helmets lacked metrics. The original Isolator's failure was its honesty, physical claustrophobia you could ditch. Modern dystopia worms deeper. Spiritual exile wrapped in pastel app interfaces selling mindfulness. We aren't blocking distractions. We're autopsying joy, selling the organs as SaaS subscriptions. Odds are you're listening to this on double speed while browsing noise-canceling coffins on Etsy. Do it. Buy the coffin. Decorate it with live, laugh, lizard people, vinyl decals. Then mail me your last check when your boss replaces you with a chat GPT module trained on your LinkedIn humblebrags. Humanity's final boss isn't laziness. It's realizing too late that productivity is just digging your own grave with a golden shovel.